Number 5, I think, is very significant. Identified murder is a big factor. But a 6th factor that could play a very significant role would be cosmic rays. Where do cosmic rays come from? Well, predominantly supernova remnants. And what's interesting is that there was a major supernova event that took place roughly at the same time as the Genesis flood, namely the Vela supernova. And there's a paper here you might want to run out and get by Robert Breckenridge, Terrestrial Paleoenvironmental Effects of a Late Quaternary Age Supernova. And what he notes is, first of all, a Vela supernova is 4 times closer to us than any other supernova in human history, which means the cosmic rays we absorbed from that single event are a minimum of 16 times more intense. So if you have no Vela supernova, the cosmic ray intensity would be a whole lot less. He also documents in this paper attempts to date the Vela supernova through measuring the velocity of the ejecta we can now see flowing out from the star responsible for this event. And the date that you get for the eruption of the Vela supernova by that means is 8,400 to 15,000 years ago, and that roughly coincides with the best date we can get through the genealogies for the date of the Genesis flood. He closes his paper off by pointing out numbers of sea species of life, animal life, that were either brought into extinction or sharp population decline as a result of the Vela supernova. And he says, wouldn't it be great if we could quantitatively measure this? The limitation in trying to quantitatively determine whether or not people could live longer without cosmic rays is where you're going to find a radiation-free environment to run the experiment. If you go underground, you get rid of the cosmic rays. But the farther you go underground, the more damage you receive from decay of things like uranium and thorium in the Earth's crust. And it actually turns out to be worse than the cosmic ray problem. The only solution I could recommend is to find a really thick salt deposit several thousand feet underground where you could, burrow your way in there, where you could raise a group of human beings that are protected by at least 1,000 feet of salt in all directions from granite and also from the cosmic rays. But who are you going to get to volunteer? The second issue is it may not make any difference because our cells are programmed to shut down the survival of the human body after a maximum of 120 years. And that's actually good for us. If our cells didn't shut down that fast, we'd be dying earlier deaths of cancer. But if there isn't the cosmic ray problem, then you'd be able to reset those biological clocks. So it's a possibility that's what God did, coincident with the Vela supernova. Last thing is a disclaimer. This is simply a possible piece of speculation. Bottom line is, we don't have any significant hard scientific evidence one way or the other, but it is in the historical records. Yes?
One question, going back to a statement about evil that you made about 15 minutes ago. Tell me if I do not quote you. I think you said something to this effect, that God never speaks of disease as evil.
Yes?
Well, I go back to several books I've read. One is by a deceased Presbyterian theologian, George Buttrick, who wrote a long book entitled God, Pain, and Evil.
Okay.
Another shorter book, What a Modern Catholic Believes About Evil. And they categorize evil, and I read them so long ago, they're a little vague, but they speak of disease as evil. There's not always a moral connotation to the term evil. And this would seem to contradict.
Again, you're quoting theologians rather than the Bible. The one place where they could get that from in terms of the Bible is sometimes God would visit disease upon a community as a means of judgment. There's a story in the book of Isaiah, for example, where God dealt with an invading army threatening Hezekiah by visiting Sennacherib's army with a plague. And in one single night, 175,000 of his soldiers died on the spot. So you could pick up examples like that, but as far as a specific doctrinal statement that a disease is to be equated with evil, you won't find that in the Bible. But you can find illustrations like the one I mentioned.
But how about natural catastrophes then?
Well, we call them acts of God, but I'm not sure we could call them evil. For the following reason. I live in a place where we get lots of earthquake activity. But one of the things I discovered through a geophysicist friend of mine is that it's a good thing we get earthquakes. Humanity would be far worse off if we never had earthquakes. Why do you need earthquakes? Earthquakes recycle the nutrients that are important for life on the land that would accumulate in the oceans back to the land. I mean, here you go, wind and water eroding the continents and taking those nutrients and letting them pile up on the ocean floors. But thanks to plate tectonics, those nutrients that pile up on the ocean floors get recycled into new continents. And what we see on planet Earth is we have precisely the plate tectonic activity to maintain the recycling without making it impossible for us human beings to live in cities. And so if the plate tectonics was a little bit greater or a little bit lesser, life would be more miserable for us than it is. So I've shared that with my wife. She hates earthquakes, but I say, hey, let's praise God for His amazing providence every time it happens. You could likewise make the same argument about hurricanes and tornadoes. Planet Earth has the ideal number and intensity of tornadoes and hurricanes to make life as pleasant as possible on this planet. It'd be easy to get rid of the tornadoes and the hurricanes, slow down the Earth's rotation rate. But slowing down the Earth's rotation rate would make it impossible for us to live on this planet.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ross.